Hey everyone, welcome back to Xploit. As you can see, I am in the Xploit spawn perimeter, but it's not quite the same as it used to be. Notably, if you look at the floor, it is deep slate. But, well, you know, that's a consequence of the 1.18 update, and it notably changing certain blocks in your own world so that there's a smooth transition from, you know, old terrain and new terrain. And, well, while that's cool for most use cases, for us especially since we dug out this huge perimeter, it isn't exactly the best. So what I am going to do is that I will be editing it. Notably, what I will be doing is that I will be replacing all of the deep slates that replace the bedrock and turn it back into bedrock. And for all of the chunks below, notably the sub-chunks that got added due to the vertical expansion in the 1.18 update, I will be turning them into solid bedrock, for the very simple reason to maintain the perimeter functionality. And no, I am not on the server itself right now. This is a copy of the world that is on my personal PC. But what I will be doing after I edited it is that I will be uploading it to the server itself. I agree that it can be considered cheating, but there is definitely a point to be made when you think about the fact that the developers promised us an option to be able to toggle this new change. And sadly, well, that hasn't really happened after all. We are left with a non-optional change that affects existing blocks. I think that is... it's breaking the one rule of Minecraft that new updates will never ever change what is already in your built terrain. Even if it is relatively minor, I still see it as some sort of breach. Well, either way, we're not going to have our efforts of the spawn perimeter nullified, and I'm going to change it back. Now, of course, you could be saying, why don't you do it for the entire world, since that's what the toggle was supposed to be? Well, first of all, that's a ton of effort. I'm not really gonna go through that, since we have a really large area pre-generated of like 8,000 times 8,000 blocks, and honestly, I'm not going to go through the effort of MC editing all of that. And, I mean, of course you could use a script of some sort, but honestly, not gonna bother. And since we got something promised and we didn't get it after all, I feel like this is a little sort of compensation for that fact. Alright, I believe I finished, and now what I can do, I'll just place a block of bedrock above me, is that I'll use my free cam, and it'll take a while to fly over to the location. And I can check for any underground spaces that might be hollow. And if so, I'll do a second run. But what I basically did is that I used, let me remove that block, I use a command block. And what that command block does is that it fills one layer of the 9x9 chunks areas that I filled earlier manually, and it fills them 2 blocks below me. Now, it doesn't fill them 1 block below me, because if I fill it 1 block below me, it would always replace the block that I'm standing on, and then I can never dig down and, you know, replace further layers down below. So basically, yeah, like I said, it replaces 1 layer 2 blocks below me, and then I just keep digging down and it keeps replacing all of the blocks in that area. If I did it correctly, then there should be no hollow spaces, like I said, and it also should have not extended past the actual perimeter itself. That is something that is very important to me. I just wanted to fill in the 9x9 chunk area, nothing else. If I messed up somehow, rather than trying to manually place back the blocks, which is really impossible because I don't know what blocks were there underground, I can always roll back to another backup, and that would make things pretty easy. But so far so good. I don't really see any hollow spaces down here. Alright, so it's been a few days and I've mostly spent my time designing this thing. And the reason for this is because we want a source of blocks for the server, because we're going to make many big projects in the future. And basalt is a pretty good looking block in comparison to cobblestone that would also be farmable using a wither. And eventually we'll also make a cobblestone farm, of course, but I decided to make a basalt farm first. So I decided for this, and yeah, this is what I came up with. It is using my wither cage. I slightly changed it, and it has a very unique collection system. in that it uses a marker right here so that none of the basalt that's stuck on this block gets lost. I still have to stress test this thing, and there is the possibility that this might break, but as I've said, I've worked on this for several days and it hasn't broken so far, so it is pretty promising. And yeah, so right now I'm stress testing this farm on my laptop, notably to see if anything gets broken, and to see the rates as well. But this is using a total of 61 break spots. So on the top right here, there is 6 on each side, so that is 24. Then there is 9 on these ones, there's 8 on these ones, and there is 3 more on top here. There's a little chamber right in here, and yeah, so that's a total of 61 break spots. So that means the absolute maximum this should get is about 439,200, but it won't reach that for several reasons. Notably, the first being that when this farm is operational, it will pause on a cycle. So once this hopper clock goes off, the observer detects that and sets off the pulse extender. And that pulse extender will pause the entire basalt generating pushing part and also the wither aggroing part, so that the water on top can flow, since you know the water actually gets broken by the wither, and push out all of the basalt that is stuck on top here. Let's actually go into the free cams so we can actually observe this better without collecting anything. And as you can see, the snowballs, well, you can't really see it. You can see it better from here. The snowballs get shot out and they get launched up. What we settled with in the end, or what I settled with in the end, and I do want to show it because it is quite cool, is a system that shoots up a minecart and opens up a hole in the actual platform itself. Now, I'm going to show it to you like this, but long story short, I found a much better solution, but I still want to show you this one because it is quite cool. So as you can see, all of the basalt gets stuck on top of here, and that does suck, but that's okay because we got the super elaborate system that I'm going to make obsolete in a moment. As you can see up here, there is a minecart, well, down here, and it will then get pushed up. Or its dot from stops, and as you can see, the minecart shut up, and then everything closes back up, and the farm starts working again. As cool of a solution as this is, it is flawed because there's going to be a lot of basalt massing up on that bedrock block, and it won't be able to get all of it because there's limited inventory in the minecart, of course, and even if it gets all of it, it will still not pick up all of it. For some reason, it will only pick up 4 stacks, in my experience at least. Let's turn this farm off, however, and let me show you the solution that actually works better than this one right here. And it is very, very simple, and I'm quite embarrassed that we didn't have it before. So, the solution is, drum roll, we just use one of these. Literally, we just push more basalt right on there, and all of that gets pushed away. So let's demonstrate that real quick. If we place a observer right here, that's one, and notice how it's only the one where the block is, and that's 2, and all of the basalt is pushed off. Slight update on the farm though, it has nearly tripled in size. That is because we decided that simply relying on lava ticking for a single basalt pusher per break spot was not reliable enough, and we wanted all of the break spots to be saturated on every pushing cycle so that we get the full amount of blocks. But it's still not quite functional. For some reason there's some loss that I can't really explain where it's coming from. We were wiring for like hours at a time because the wiring was so damn painful, but it looks really, really cool in my opinion, so hopefully we can actually build that soon. And then there's these ×6 speed shot loaders from Kairyu. I put 8 of them next to each other, which is nearing what the farm could theoretically produce. But like I said, there's some issues. I'm not quite sure what exactly it is, but we'll look at it in the coming days. Anyway, back onto the actual survival server itself. So you might remember that wool farm we designed quite a while ago, and we actually want to build that on the server, or to be more specific, Jin wanted to build that on the server because we kinda need some wool, and we just decided that, well, might as well just rebuild the wool farm, you know? And because it is a Simtic based wool farm, it means you need to move like a lot of chunks back and forth. I was thinking we could also implement a piston bolt. It is a bit overkill, and I think we can go for my new two-way design, so not this one, but another one. And that will be pretty neat if you ask me, and it's gonna look pretty cool. Timelapse end, and this is the finished result. So we have two stations here. We have the one station and the other one, and you can just go back and forth. This is my piston bolt designed a two-way, which is two-way in one lane, so it's not just two one-ways next to each other. I guess it's two one-ways inside of each other, but we have a kind of a cool system. And we also noticed that the extra delays on chunk borders are no longer needed in the current version, so that's absolutely great. It's very fast. If you take a look at the system here it's just deploy minecart, deploys a minecart, you can sit down, and this one is start piston bolt. As you can see, it is pretty fast. Minecart gets broken, collected, there's a hopper minecart that collects it through the block, and gets put back into that dispenser. You can just repeat the process as often as you want. It is quite fun to ride back and forth, and oops, that's not what I meant to do. And yeah, like I said, a bit overkill. So what's next now is working on the control system, and I'm gonna do some sort of cool, not a tower, but like I could do a mini tower, but yeah, some sort of pedestal I was thinking. That could be cool. And I'm gonna do it using deep slate and gray concrete, just like everything here. Alright, so I added a little platform here, and that is basically, or a little pedestal, whatever you want to call it, that's just to control all of these Simtic farms. Right now we only have a Simtic wool farm, but we might add a Simtic sand farm later. That's actually possible, yes. You might have already known about it. But the thing about that is that it's a bit weird because you need to enter a portal before loading the chunks where the sand is. And that might be a bit hard, since, you know, the end portal's all the way over there. And for using a portal tile, well, that can technically work. There's a glitch where when you enter a portal tile in the end dimension, you'll end up in some ghost state in the overworld where you can't interact with anything until you relog. So that's, of course, something we want to avoid. Anyway, so that's that. When you turn it on, that powers this redstone line that goes all the way over there. Right now, powering it on won't do anything, but when it actually works, when we have finished the thing, let me just turn it on. There's no risk for me to go there. When we turn it on, it simply powers a comparator clock right here. It's a 4-game tick clock, of course. And that redstone line here powers all of the dispensers. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna end the episode here. I've got a spyglass, by the way, nice. Future projects for Xploit include a tree farm, which there are some materials in here already, basalt farm as shown already, and some others, you will see. That being said, thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to check out my channel, and if you do like my content, then how about you subscribe, it's free. Well, see you around, bye!